Right, good. So continuing with this lecture one from the Ordinances of Manu book. Right, this is page 5, continuing on what is called lecture 1. And we move on to verse 23. He, Brahma, for the perfection of sacrifice from the fire, wind, and the sun, milked out the eternal threefold Veda, which consists of the Rig Veda, Yajur, and Sam Veda. Right, and so that the Atharva Veda came after that. That's just a side note. Right. He created time and the divisions of time, the lunar zodiac, also the planets, rivers, oceans, rocks, plains, and the uneven ground. Austerity, speech, and sexual enjoyment, desire also, as well as anger and desiring to create these things. He created this creation. And he made distinct dharma and non-dharma in order to a distinction of deeds. And he endowed these beings with pairs, pleasure and pain and the like. But the five elements, those which are called atomic destructible elements, by these, this all arises in successive order. Now, in what action that Lord first employed any creature, that creature being reproduced again and again, spontaneously followed just that course of right action, baneful or harmless, gentle or savage, right or wrong, true or false, whatever he at the creation assigned to any that quality spontaneously entered it. As the seasons acquire their own characteristics in their course, so beings with a body acquire their characteristic acts. Now, for the prosperity of the worlds, he from his mouth, arms, thighs, and feet created a Brahma, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra as a caste system. Having divided, which we'll talk about later, right? Having divided his own body into two, he became a male by half a female. On her that Lord begot Viraj. But, O best of twice born men, I know that I am he, the creator of this world, whom that male Viraj, having practiced austerity, spontaneously produced. Now I desirous of creating beings, having performed my very severe austerity, first created the 10 lords of the beings, great seers. Uh, Forgive me for pronouncing these names wrong if I do, and most likely I will, right? But let's just go on. 35. Marisi, Atri, Angiras, uh, Pulastya, Pulaha, Kratu, Prasetas, Vashishta, Brigu, and also Narada. These very glorious produced 7 other Manus together with gods and the abodes of gods and great seers, unlimited in glory. Yakshas, Rakshas, Pikakas, Gandharvas, Apsarasas, Asuras, Nagas, serpents, eagles, and a different host of means, lightnings, thunderbolts, and clouds, Indras, bent and unbent bows, meteors, comets, and various luminaries, Kinaras, apes, fishes, and all kinds of birds, cattle, deer, and men, beasts of prey, and animals with 2 rows of teeth, worms, grubs, ringed insects, lice, flies, and bugs, with all biting nuts and innumerable things of different kinds. This was all consistent of things stationary and movable according to their acts, created by those great beings at my command through the force of austerity. Right? So we just pause there because I believe this is an important verse. Right? Thus was this all consistent of things, stationary and movable according to their acts, created by those great beings at my command through the force of austerity. Right? Austerity being what? Right? Acts of sacrifice, personal acts of sacrifice, sacrificial acts regarding yourself. Right? And this is saying that all things, right? All is actually sustained through these things, right? Is actually noted in the Vedic Upasana as well, right? Through selfless action, all things are maintained, right? So through the acts of our personal self-sacrificing, right? Through the acts of our personal acts of self-sacrifice, all things in the world are maintained, right? What kinds of 42, what kind of acts is ordained for what creatures here, that I shall declare to you, also their order and origin. Cattle also there, and the wild beasts with 2 rows of teeth, demons and devils, and men are born from a coal, produced from eggs, birds, snakes, crocodiles, and fish and tortoises, and likewise all other kinds of reptiles which are produced on land or aquatic. From moisture are produced gnats and flies and lice, fleas and bugs, and from heat is produced whatever else is of this kind. All plants which are fixed grow from seed or slips. Herbs are those which perish with ripening of fruit and abound in flowers and fruit. Those trees which have no flowers but have fruit are called vanaspati, forest lord, and those that have flowers are also those that bear fruit that are called trees. Plants with one stem and many stems are of many kinds. So also grasses, but convolvulus convolvulus and creepers spring from seed or slip. These creatures, enveloped by a manifold darkness caused by past deeds, have an internal conscience and are endowed with pleasure and pain. Right? So it's saying the book is saying that even plants, right? Right. So all these things, our creation, right, is actually caused, right? The material element of the world, which is the world, the gross element of the world, is caused by past deeds, right? So that is how creation actually arises, right? So even like say you have a baby, right, or you grow a plant, right? Regardless, you have an animal, anything, right? These things are actually the result, right, of past deeds, right? The world, God just doesn't say, bam, I just want to create the world because I want to create the world, right? That's why some religions will tell you that, oh, well, it's because that God will, right? God will, right? Or is that you just want to do something. There's a God and God just want to create the world just for so and so, right? Now there's a reason and a purpose behind everything that's happening in the world, right? So it has to do with our deeds, right? And everything, every gross element in this world, right? Every gross thing, every material thing, right? Is an actual result of every concrete thing is a result, right? Concrete meaning that you could feel, you could feel it, you could experience it, right? Our bodies, this world, this bed, right? Everything, this door, this house, this car, right? Everything in this material world, trees, animals, everything, people, right? That's what gross mean, right? The energy forms itself into material matter, right? And these things are actually a result or caused by our past deeds, right? So this is what it means. So we hold up here because I want to explain this, right? This is what it means, right? To when we saying closing the cycle on deeds, meaning action and consequence, right? In order to exit, right, the cycle of birth and rebirth. So closing the cycle, right, of action and consequence in our individual life, right? Meaning death, right? And meaning that a wrapping up of all our past deeds, which is to happen in this life, right? So this is what's happening in this lifetime, right? That we are seeking to close that action and consequence, right? Closing that action and consequence in our own life, meaning death, right? To approach that and close off our past deeds, right? So there's no more coming back, there's no more deeds, right? So once you, as a human being, you attain the human body, right, which is the highest form of intelligence, right? Because there are plants, and even plants have subtle pain, right? So even as so this is to clarify this conversation when people, there are a lot of people coming and go, oh, it's okay for me to eat meat, right? It's okay for me to eat meat because you harming plants do not. The book also says like plants have a subtle element that allows it, right, to feel pain, right? That is but the way that the plant experiences pain, right, would not be the same way as a creature of a more evolved being, right? And all these things are recorded in those Rosicrucian texts and all these things, right? Is part of the light occult teaching you how to be a better human being through the development of your willpower, right? So and these are things that people, those that run the world, do not want you to know, being because it closes the cycle in your life, right, of deeds and mistakes. I have to come back here, right, to pay for things that you already pay for, right? So this knowledge now is helping you to actually close, right, the cycle of birth and rebirth, so that you do not have to incarnate back into this life, right, in order to keep paying and paying and paying for something that probably you paid for since back in slavery, and we keep reincarnating, right? So this is to wrap up that, right? Wrapping up life on the whole, meaning that going back into sleep, right? Going back into eternal rest, going back into eternal abode of rest, right? So this is what this knowledge is helping us to understand that, hey, you don't have to keep reincarnating, right? The reason you keep reincarnating is because you keep participating in the same misdeeds over and over and repeating cycles of misdeeds over and over and over, right? So this is that close, or teaching you to close that cycle, right, of misdeeds, deeds and misdeeds. I mean, and adopt a mentality of neutrality, right? So you move through life neutral, right? Saying, hey, well, whatever karma I am bound to, I'm not really bound to that karma, right? Whatever karma that people want to place on me, I'm not bound to that karma, right? So it's understanding this, and I hope that my voice reaches people, because they won't expand my YouTube views, and I only have a couple views, right? So I hope that my voice is reaching people, right? From a distance, to say, hey, right? Stop letting people place unnecessary karma upon your backs, knowing that you, right? Especially I'm talking to Caribbean, India, Africa, all these countries, right? Middle East, wherever, right? Stop allowing anybody, you're talking about people on the ground, normal people living, working every day, right? Stop allowing people to keep placing karma and karma, heaping karma upon you, when at this point in time, you should be moving through life with neutrality, right? You should be moving through life with ease. You should be moving through life with neutrality and ease, not no hardship, right? So, it is actually closing a cycle of, hey, listen, I'm not committing any more misdeeds. I don't want to I want to contribute to less misdeeds, right? Less wrong action. I let my right action guide my way to death, right? That should be a mentality at this point, right? Abstinence from wrong action, right? And allow my right course of action, past and present, to guide my way to the future, right? Which is a final closure, right? Of deeds and misdeeds, which is death, a final death, right? So we have been here before and we have lived, right? So this is another thing that they do not want you to know, which is reincarnation. Now the world has been the world has been in existence, right, for ages, right? You know, in Hinduism, you know, of the 4 ages, right? So we have been here before, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, right? So this knowledge, why does this knowledge just typically happen, right? Hidden, right? Is that you know something happened to you in last life, right? Your last life. If I know somebody killed me in my last life, I'm going to come here and seek revenge. And I'm going to want to kill that person back, right? So that is why the details, right? The details of what happened in our past life are not allowed to be known, right? Because it causes you to want to seek revenge on a person who probably that action and consequence already closed off, right? So if somebody killed me in my last life, I shouldn't be knowing who killed me, and I shouldn't be coming here seeking the knowledge of, hey, who killed me in my last life, right? That is not for me to know, because only God knows, hey, the reason that happened, right? Why that close off, why I'm in a new birth, right? So maybe I can have the knowledge, hey, or maybe God will allow me to remember, hey, I was killed in my past life, right? Or I was murdered in my last life, right? Or I was sacrificed in my last life, right? Maybe God will allow me to remember I was sacrificed in my last life, yeah, right? But God will not allow me to remember who do it, right? Because that knowledge is impermissible for me to know, right? Because if I know who sacrificed me in my last life, I am going to take revenge on that person in this life, right? If you know somebody sacrificed you in your last life and you know who that person was, would it not mean that, hey, I'm going to come back in this life and I'm going to go all out revenge, right, on that person and seek to annihilate that person, right? Who wouldn't do that? It's a natural inclination as a human being to defend yourself, right? So if you have the knowledge that, hey, you were sacrificed in your last life, right, you would come back into take rebirth and know, hey, I'm going to go after that person, right? So that's why God does not allow us to remember the details, right? He might allow us to remember, hey, well, this happened to me, right? But not who did it, right? Because in our past lifetime, right, that those deeds and misdeeds has already been closed, and now we're taking rebirth into a new life, right? But this lifetime in particular, right, is actually the closing off of all deeds and misdeeds, which is the eventuality, which is no coming back, right? Which is no rebirth, which is no rebirth, right? No rebirth, right? So birth and rebirth cycle, right, is officially being closed off within this lifetime, right? For those on this path, right? Have a blessed day, everybody.